Congratulations. You're being released as asylum seekers, not as citizens, not yet. You will be sent to a home of our choosing. You must not move from this address.
We are good people.
Whether or not you're good people, it's not me that needs convincing.
It's a palace.
This entire house is just for us.
It's gonna be nice, you're gonna be happy.
As long as you can get along, fit in.
Be one of the good ones.
This is our home.
All I can taste is the metal.
We'll get used to it.
I saw something in the dark. You have felt it too.
You having problems with the property?
This is what they want. They like to see us crazy. Let them send us back.
How quickly you forget everything we went through to get here. We are not going back. There is no witch.
Get out!
What is that?
Rats.
Rats did this.
You went outside.
This is my house! This is my house! This is my house! My house!
You don't wonder what it tells me. It says I should be afraid of you.
Please, can you introduce yourselves, who you are and what you do? I'll start with Sope because you're in my line of sight at the top.
All right, sweet. Hello, my name is Sope Dirisu and I play Bol in his house.
And Remi.
Hi, I'm Remi Weekes and I'm the writer and director of His House.
Okay, so this, I must say, first of all, round of applause because His House scared me and I don't like being scared, but also the measure of a good horror film is that you're scared. So thank you for scaring me and doing your job. It's a really brilliant film. I mean, Remi, for a debut feature, you aren't taking any prisoners. How long had you had this idea for His House?
Taking any prisoners, man.
Yeah, it was just like you came out the gate. This is like it's a strong effort, man. Yeah.
So I began making films as a duo called Turn Owen, and the production company we were assigned to had offices in central London, and they shared it with two producers, Ed and Martin. And whenever I went to see them, they talk about my dreams of being a director of feature films one day. And they mentioned that they had this project. They were developing a horror film based on the immigrant experiences, but the original writers, Felicity and Toby, I guess they got to a point where it wasn't quite getting where they felt it should go, and they asked me, well, do I want to pitch them my version or my take on the material? And so I pitched them a more kind of pared back psychological story about a married couple trying to, I guess, survive after surviving. And they liked it and we made it.
Make it sound so simple.
Just like that.
Just like that. So Sope, when you saw the script, what was your first reaction to it?
I was really glad that stories like this were being made. I think is my first reaction to it. It's only in recent history that firstly we've seen horror films where the leads are Black, centered around, and also not only just that, for it to be so intrinsically a part of the Black experience in the UK and be a version of, because Blackness is multifaceted, Blackness in the world, you know, the story was rooted in their culture and their history and them as Africans. So that was immediately exciting to me. That was definitely my first response.
I mean, and being, I guess we're all African here. I'm Ghanaian, you guys both Nigerian, right?
Oh,
No,
no.
you're not. You're not, Sope.
I am.
You are? Remi, where are you
Yeah.
from?
So I'm my heritage is Saint Lucian, Sierra Leone, and Welsh.
See, I'm so arrogant, you see. I'm like, you're either Ghanaian or Nigerian or you don't count. It doesn't matter.
But he then comes in with the most flames mix, you know?
To remix everything and throw out every assumption I had. Well, fair enough. Well, and you know, we're all African. But it is that having that British, especially British African narrative, because we are trying to find our identity and have our stories out there. So that's another thing that I really resonated with, and bringing the culture into it. But do you feel, and it's to both of you, what's missing from the narrative when you're looking at our on-screen or maybe just general screen literature, stage content from the British Black boys? What is missing, and is that where you feel like you need to plug in and fill up that hole?
I think diversity is missing, like just like the richness of so many. I think Sope mentioned it, just that the fact that experiences is so multifaceted, and so like even us talking, we just like through so many different places in Africa and I guess the world where our heritage comes from. And I think it's missing, but it's also exciting because I've seen so many, even like the short films I've seen recently, like there's so much potential bubbling under, and I'm hoping, touch wood, that like there is going to be, or the questions that are being asked this year, like the answers will be more opportunity for more filmmakers and artists to make really, really, really interesting and cool pieces of work.
That's fair. And Sope, again, is you must get sent scripts upon scripts upon scripts. And how jaded or not are you with some of the content, and have things changed in what's coming across your lap now?
I think one of the biggest changes is who's writing the stories.
Yeah.
More times today, we are seeing incredible writers like Remi, who is not only talented, but also speaking from a position of truth. He's not had to go too far to imagine the story, you know? So to have a more diverse writer's room or lead writer is sort of where I think a lot of the change is coming from. But I think to answer your first question about what is the holes or what are we missing, I think it's more. Because speaking really now for a second, it's very easy to believe that if you're not Nigerian or you're not Ghanaian, then like, where are you actually from in the UK? Whereas this is a UK story about people from South Sudan. And I remember meeting some Congolese guys, and I remember Congo was the butt of a lot of jokes. And one guy called another guy, "Oh, you're Congolese." I was like, "Why are you cussing him like that?" He's like, no, he's actually Congolese. Why are you making it out to be a bad thing, you know? So it's like, the more exposure we have to all of the different sort of countries that have emigrated to the UK, the more we can understand that even culturally, blackness, British blackness is vast and diverse. And yeah, I just think that we need more.
Yeah, I fully agree. And so going back to the film, how did you shape it and bring it to life? What was your driving point of it all? What was the kind of, if I've got this, then I know it's what I'm trying to achieve?
So I guess I came from it from two perspectives. The first perspective was the research and reading about what the system's like in the UK, that I guess detention centres and the asylum process, and I guess the way the structures work, and also research in terms of immigration and the crossing and the journey. And then, as well as the research, I tried to mine from my personal experiences growing up in London, growing up amongst a community of people of colour, and the conversations we always have about what it's like to be here and what it's like to be othered, and just kind of drawing and weaving these kind of stories together to write the script.
How does, just if you're researching something, how where do you draw the line in regards to speaking to so many people to get the authenticity of it or get the facts right, and then you go off and write? Where do you have to draw the line before it becomes all these people's voices are in your head and you're trying to clear the path? Like, I don't know, I guess this is really for probably writers who are looking at trying to get a narrative.
I really think once I understood the characters and the perspectives that I wanted to shape. So, for example, Bol, his character, he was very much about assimilation and about fitting in and hide or suppressing his past and his history and his culture. And Rial was the opposite. It was about being really proud and really digging into her history and the past and refusing to let it go in the face of everything, and how these two points of views clashed. And once I understood the 2 points of view, the research was kind of like aiding those points of view. And so like, for example, things like Rial walking through the town was based partly on things South Sudanese immigrants was talking about, their experiences of being an African immigrant in the US. This was the US actually, and how they were shocked to find that African Americans treated them differently. And they were confused because they felt like there'd be a natural brotherhood between all people of color, but they found actually that the caste systems in different countries actually can be quite surprising and not what you'd expect. And actually there were divisions between different cultures and whatnot. And I think that's a really important moment in the film, especially when you are trying to understand who you are in a new place.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sope, so how did you get in touch with Bol, and were there any similarities in his outlook, in his character outlook to your personal experiences, or did you really have to kind of like, this is not how I am, really build a new personality within the personality?
I think in looking for him, the thing I wanted to explore the most in that character was African masculinity. And I think being a child of the diaspora, so growing up in a house that is very culturally Nigerian, but also going to school with people who definitely weren't, and having this world to assimilate into, I understood the sort of feeling of not necessarily belonging in this place, but trying to make it work for you. That was definitely close to home. But specifically that African masculinity was something that I just wanted to interrogate, because I'd grown up around it. But more and more in the world that we're trying to create in Big 2020, it doesn't have a place, you know, to be this like rule with an iron fist, like your children are almost raised in fear of you, and the man must be the head of the house, and you don't question him, all of his decisions are this. That's the energy that Bol's bringing to this film. And ultimately, it's his downfall. The film could be resolved a lot faster if he had the awareness to just be like, you know what, I can't do this by myself. I need to rely on my partner. I need to elevate the Black woman in my life. And if we work this out together, we'll be fine. But that's the journey that he goes on, you know. There's this stubbornness and obstinacy that comes from being an African man. Or I should say that we see a lot in traditional African masculinity. So yeah, reading that in the script, I was like, I definitely want to break this apart and explore it on film.
That's amazing. I was going to say, one of my questions was actually, there's so many things that one can latch onto in this film. So obviously you've got the immigration, the refuge, racism, but what was unexpected it's not a spoiler, like was the fractured relationship between Bol and Rial, because especially with everything else they're dealing with. So what was your intentions? Because was that what you were trying to do, like challenge some of these tropes when it comes to the African relationship? Because I think sometimes the African relationship is pitted as one that's quite whole, even though we do have the kind of maybe sexist, patriarchal kind of tipping towards the man being the head of the household. But it's always seems like a 2.4, not so necessarily fractured in how it's presented. So were you trying to challenge that, Remi, at all, with all everything else that was going on?
I don't know if I was trying to challenge it, but I was definitely wanting. I just wanted to create a relationship that felt just a relationship that was rich and dynamic and powerful. I think cinema doesn't always give people of color rich and dynamic characters, and I really wanted to show a couple and how their points of view would their feelings towards one another would power through the story and take us on this journey, rather than being, I don't know, just like horror film, like people there just to be scared and ghosts and stuff.
Yeah, you try to make us think a lot more, be scared and think at the same time. But I also ask because I have my Black woman perspective on how Black men and Black women navigate assimilation into white culture. So I really wanted to, I was watching, I was like, I get it. It's interesting. I didn't necessarily want to bring it to this. Is like a kind of conversation we have around a couple of drinks and then we get all angry and mad at each other, then hug at the end. But it was a little bit, I just saw those breaks. So it's really interesting that you said that, Sope, as well. Those, the patriarchal, and then, it's just very interesting. So how did you and Wunmi kind of navigate how you would explore these themes and bring your characters to life, and just working with someone as powerful as Wunmi anyway, because she's an amazing woman?
I mean, Wunmi was an absolute joy to work with, and I knew of her before, but we'd never formally met. And coming into our first like chemistry read, I just had the greatest respect for her, and I was so excited to be like sparring, working with this powerhouse of a performer. But it's interesting that you asked that question about how did we, because I don't think we ever sat down and discussed like, these are what we think the themes are, or this is what we're going to try and achieve. So I'm really happy that a lot of it has come through organically. But I also think it definitely speaks to the quality of Wunmi as a performer, that she was able to, like, she already had all of this in her plan for the character, you know? So the fact that neither of us sat down and was just like, oh, I think this is what we have to try and achieve, also speaks to the quality of the script, because a lot of it was there given to us. We didn't have to, if we tried to play against it, we wouldn't have been able to, because Remi already knew what he wanted to explore with the film. So thanks to Remi, and thank you to Wunmi, basically.
And I mean, like, when you saw these two, what was it about them both that were like, yeah, this is the couple, this is Bol and Real, and makes sense?
I mean, we saw a lot of people, and I just think, like, I just feel incredibly blessed that I was able to find these two guys, because they were so they're different in so many, like, Sope is so like intelligent and smart, and he interrogates everything, and he always put me on the back foot when I least expect it, and have to maybe rethink, like, am I doing this right? Like, both of them gave me notes.
Pesky actors.
And they were great notes, and like I just really like it's like I've done enough commercials and stuff to know when people are just there for a gig or just phoning it in, but it's you're working with two artists who really care about what they're doing, and they're really thoughtful, and they work hard to get the thing you want, and it's beautiful.
I mean, I was going to say that, I mean, yes, beautiful work, and it's, like I said, it's really strong, because it's touted as the debut project. It's really, really strong, and I don't want to sound patronizing, but it's just such a relief, because when you're in this space, and especially being Black, and you're rooting for everybody Black, and then you're like, let's just hope this thing is good. You have the reservations, like, oh my gosh, is it going to be as excellent as can be? And then there's a lot of pressure on you, the guys, the creator and the actors, of course. But I was like, wow, this is really, really darn good. And because you're being touted as one to watch, do you feel like, because it looks like you popped out of nowhere, but is that the truth? Have you been grinding at this for long, or do you feel like you've just literally had some lucky moves?
I wouldn't say I popped out of nowhere. Like, I've been making films since university. That was like 13 years ago, maybe 15. And it definitely, it definitely wasn't easy. This industry is it's very cliquey. It's not very nurturing to people, especially if you're not from a certain small pool of anointed ones. So if it's a feeling that popped out of nowhere, it's probably because the gatekeepers have decided to open the gates this one time.
And we're all running through.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Amen.
I was gonna say the same thing to you, Sope, because you've had some real magnificent roles in Gangs of London, obviously, and even in One Night in Miami, which is now being made into a film that's probably going to get the award recognition. So you've had some really standout roles. How do you feel about your journey and where you're at now? Do you feel like you're being seen?
Yeah, I think I would be lying if I said that I didn't feel that I've received a lot more recognition in the last few years than I had before. But I think that's the nature of a journey. Sure. I don't think I ever wanted to turn up in my first year professional acting and get, I don't know, a lead in Star Wars or something, for example, because I don't know if I would have felt that I earned it. From the very beginning, when I first joined my agent, I know back in the day, actors had to earn their equity cards by going and doing regional theatre. And that excited me. As someone who never went to drama school, I was like, I'm looking forward to earning my stripes. Now, I don't say all that to say that I think I've earned them now and I'm reaping the benefits of this, because I want to be grinding for my whole life. I want to always be like striving and pushing forwards to whatever else that I can achieve. But I also know that I've been extremely blessed, because there are people who I came up with, or people who are far more talented than myself, who just weren't given the opportunities. Like Remi said, the gatekeepers hadn't opened the doors for them. So I'm very grateful for all of the people who cast me in their productions or wanted to work with me. And I will always try to and continue to pay them back with hard work, because I think your luck is your opportunity, plus you taking that opportunity and working hard. And I hope that I've done that so far, and I will try and continue to do that. So I hope that answers your question. I know that it's kind of popping off at the moment. But it's a combination of feeling like I've worked for it, but also knowing that I've been extremely blessed along the way.
That's fair. And I must touch on the fact that we are talking about Black people and horror, Africans and horror, this culture, traditional kind of, superstition and all this stuff. Am I going to watch this film and have things follow me home? Was there any kind of, have I figured the African underworld, are the ancestors going to come and cuss me for watching this film? But you do touch on those things, the ancestors are in there and all that type of thing. So was there any kind of, not reservation because you made it, but did you have any considerations about, and that's for both of you, Sope for taking the role and Remi for exploring this space, any consultation or care for stepping into this realm?
I'm always overthinking and have considerations and anxieties, and I still do. I hope, I hope I've done enough, but you just don't know. I'm fingers crossed.
Fair. What about you, Sope?
It's funny, the amount of Black people who have said to me, I don't watch horrors. I don't watch it, and now I've got to watch it because you're in it, And I feel kind of guilty, but also a little bit smug that I'm encouraging people to expand their horizons. But in terms of, oh my goodness, there's some stories that I've heard, and you can never really dismiss them as fiction. About spirituality back home, just like horror stories, bro. Ghosts, people walking in their heads in markets, and the thinness of the boundary between this world and another. And I think actually, if this had been like a Nigerian story, this was happening to like Yoruba people, I would have maybe been a bit like, I'm not sure if I can, be involved with this. Just in case something happens on set I can't explain. But I think exploring another African culture gave me enough distance to be like, okay, cool. Okay,
I'm not
cool.
traveling those spirits. It's okay. I can go there.
Maybe I won't go to South Sudan now in case they remember me from the film.
But yeah, I mean, it's a real deal because when I was younger, I used to watch a lot of horror, and then something kicked in, especially if they're psychological, and the reality that, again, it's that thin line between real and the mystical that we don't necessarily understand. So it is something about that and how deep it goes when it's actually really truly scary, because that means you've done the job. But then what does that mean?
Yeah, I really love it though as well. Like I love, whenever I'm in Africa, I love watching Africa Magic. Like I think those, I just, they're so much fun and they're so soapy and silly and like, terrible effects where someone just like fades up, like it goes and fade up. And it's like, I would live, I think that it's great storytelling.
No, it's brilliant. I mean, we grew up on them, and you can't knock a bit of lightning special effects.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, the visuals are really amazing as well in your film. So were you ever tempted to like, okay, let me just fling some Nollywood in there quickly?
Oh my goodness.
I was tempted, yeah.
I was watching the whole film expecting it, and I was a little bit disappointed when we didn't get our flash.
And respect, but yeah, but I mean, look, I think time's wrapping up soon. But it's been great to speak to you. I just maybe wanted to, just on set, actually, can you both give me a moment on set where you were like, this is going to be bloody amazing, and like it just all kind of came together?
You know what? I would say, and it's like the day that Sope and Matt Smith riffed one another in the office. And just like the sparring was so electric. And you guys were ad-libbing constantly. Like it was a bitch trying to edit that sequence. Because every take was different and every take was great. And I was like, I just felt like no matter like what happens, like I just knew like there's gonna be some amazing performances in this film.
Okay, Sope.
For me, there's one. Goodness, you know what? I struggled to know exactly when people were going to be scared with the film, because as you're in it, you know you're plotting the scares and you're crafting them. So it's like this isn't scary anymore because I know exactly how it's working. But it was that sequence where he's in the kitchen stripping the wallpaper. And then he feels something behind him, turns around, and there's something sat in the darkness. That one, I was just like, even as we're shooting this thing, I'm scared. So that one, so I knew in that moment that what Remi was crafting was like, okay, this is going to work. This is hopefully going to be very, very good. So we'll see. We'll see what everybody else's favorite moments or most scariest moments are. That's what I'm looking forward to hearing.
Okay, cool. And I think that's it. Maybe 1 minute to go. I would love to squeeze in more questions, but I don't want to get told off. Thank you so much. And like I said, I'm really excited for people to see this. I've been telling everybody, you've got to watch it. It's really good.
Thank you so much.
Really proud of the fact it comes out of here, UK, let folk doing our thing. So well done. Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Look forward to catching you.